clothing you're probably wearing right now, watching this video, is toxic, and it's slowly destroying your health and disrupting your hormones. Now, I know I sound a little crazy, and I know that there's a lot of fear mongering and everything's toxic, everything's bad for you, but hear me out, because this is actually a big deal. Modern clothing is toxic. Let me tell you why. Over 70% of today's modern clothing is made from synthetic fibers. These are things like acrylic, nylon, spandex, and the most common, polyester. Polyester was created in 1930 by W.H. Carothers, and it is now the most produced textile fiber in the world. And slowly over time, synthetic fibers like polyester have become more popular because of how cheap they are, and organic natural materials like wool, cotton, and linen are being used less and less. These synthetic fibers are not only in our clothing, but they've made their way into pretty much everything, from mattresses to our bedding, to furniture, to rugs, and worst of all, your underwear. While doing research for this video, I was overwhelmed with the amount of evidence, scientific evidence, that shows that polyester synthetic clothing is terrible for our health, leading to things like miscarriages, disrupting hormones like testosterone for men and progesterone for women, leading to issues like infertility and becoming asospermic, and exposing us to what are known as forever chemicals, PFAS, that have been known to cause cancer.
Conventional apparel has been found to be loaded with endocrine disrupting chemicals. PFAS and PFCs, perfluoroalkyl substances, and chemicals and compounds, all of these chemicals that shouldn't be, definitely not in the body, and then we're coming to find out they shouldn't be on the body either.
And PFAS chemicals, which include PFOA and PTFE, have been linked to kidney cancer specifically.
When we wear synthetic clothing, it's usually coming into direct contact with our skin. And our skin is incredibly absorbent, so this is bad news.
There is more than 8,000 chemicals in the textile industry that's used, but most people fail to realize that skin being the largest organ system absorbs everything it comes in contact with.
The chemicals and microplastics in these materials are slowly leaching into our body over time, causing a host of problems. And worst of all, most underwear is made from polyester. So we're putting this synthetic material directly on our private parts.
So there was a study done, there was 14 guys, and they were wearing a polyester scrotum sling, right? So they're wearing a cup made of polyester on their nads. All of these men became asospermic. So it means that their ejaculate didn't have any living sperm inside of it.
A range of toxic chemicals in clothes. These include formaldehyde and phthalates. And what you want to avoid are items that say they contain polyester, spandex, and rayon.
And if what I'm saying is true, this is pretty crazy, right? That these synthetic materials are everywhere, yet they're terrible for humans. And part of me was like, well, how and why is this happening? When you look into the process of making polyester and the chemicals that are used and what the material is made from, it makes a lot of sense that these things are not good for humans. Polyester is a plastic material, but originating from a fossil fuel known as petroleum. The process starts with something known as cracking. The petroleum is broken down, refined, and then goes through a chemical process to transform it into a polymer plastic. The plastic is then transformed into small pellets, which are then melted and forced through tiny holes, known as spinnerets. These create long fabric strands, and as these strands cool down, they harden into fibers. These strands are then twisted together to create a polyester thread, which can then be used to make clothing. It's pretty crazy, actually. It's impressive almost that we can take plastic, whether it's recycled plastic or petroleum-based PET plastic, and turn that into a fiber that we can turn into clothing. And it's crazy. It would be great if it wasn't so bad for us. Polyester is not only bad in the sense that it's leaching microplastics into our body because it's a plastic product, but it's also heavily treated and used with chemicals in the process of creating this fiber. Formaldehyde is used to make it wrinkle-free and to help dyes stick to the fabric. PFOAs help make the clothing waterproof, phthalates make the fabric softer, and PFCs make them stain resistant. Polyester is also exposed to antimony in the production process, and they've shown that when you heat polyester, it can release traces of antimony into our body, and antimony is more toxic than mercury, so that's bad news. Now, when people started to discover that these synthetic materials are terrible for humans, as you would imagine, lawsuits are starting to break out. There are tons of lawsuits that are ongoing as well as already settled for those PFAs, those forever chemicals that I mentioned in these synthetic materials on big name brands. A company known as Thinx, which creates reusable period underwear, has recently agreed to pay up to $5 million to settle a lawsuit for PFAS in their underwear. There's an ongoing lawsuit against REI for dangerously high levels of PFAS in their raincoat lines, and the super popular Lululemon leggings have been shown to have toxic levels of PFAS in them as well, to no surprise. These materials are not used because they're a healthier or better option than natural materials. They are used because companies don't care about our health and they want to make more money. They are a cheaper option than natural materials, but yet they come at a cost to our health. And we as consumers have to be careful of what we're putting on and in our body, because the sad truth is that companies don't care about our health and they actually might want to make us sicker. And to top it all off, polyester is one of the biggest contributors to microplastics in the ocean and accounts for about 35 to 50%. This happens through washing and drying the fabric and ends up getting into our water supply, which then makes it into our tap water and the ocean, and then eventually comes back into our bodies.
People are eating so much microplastic. You eat like, what is it, a credit card size piece of plastic every week.
Now this is just my personal opinion, but I don't even like the way synthetic clothing feels or looks. I've been wearing exclusively cotton, linen, and wool for the past 2 years now. I do have some polyester clothing, which I'll talk about later, but I prefer natural materials, not for the health benefits necessarily, but because they actually look and feel better. They look better on your body. This is an organic cotton shirt, but they also feel better. Like the material and the way that it touches your skin, like, I don't know, something about it, it just feels right and it looks right. Versus these synthetic materials, they don't last very long. They start to wear and they don't look, in my opinion, as good as natural materials do. And that is ultimately the solution. It's throwing away all of your shitty synthetic fiber clothing and opting for more natural options. But the first place I would look at before you maybe go through your closet and start going nuts is what you're putting directly on your private parts, AKA your underwear. Men's testosterone is at an all-time low and it's continually declining. And there's a lot of things that are affecting this, but the biggest things are hormone disruptors. Testosterone is actually produced in the gonads, and most modern day polyester underwear is hormone disrupting. So why are we putting this on our balls? So this is why I think it's incredibly important to swap your polyester synthetic unnatural underwear with something natural that doesn't decrease your testosterone and make you infertile. I've tried a few different companies that had some organic cotton underwear options, but they didn't last very long. Like one of them only lasted like a couple months. But by far my favorite underwear is by this company called Nads. I actually reached out to them because I'm a big fan of their company and I wanted to see if they wanted to sponsor this video, but I genuinely would mention them regardless. Don't tell them that, but they're amazing. I really enjoy them. I use them everywhere. I use them when I sleep, jujitsu, of course, throughout the day. And they decided to even give my viewers a little discount code. So if you want to check them out and support me and support this video, please do so. And you can use the discount code in the description below. Now, I received some questions from my community about this video, so I'm gonna do a little Q&A section and we're gonna address some of these things that you might actually already have questions about, so let's get into it. How bad is non-organic cotton? So if you go from polyester to just traditional cotton, 100% cotton, you're doing way better, way, way, way better. This is a natural material, it's not synthetic, it's not made from plastic, but there's definitely a further level to go, which is organic cotton. So if you can, like especially with underwear, I would go organic cotton. But at the same time, like if you're worried about polyester or synthetic materials, even just opting for just traditional cotton still could be treated with chemicals and have unnatural dyes and stuff like that, but you're definitely reducing your harm by a lot. They also asked, do safe synthetics exist? There is a hierarchy, right, to everything. And I do believe that there's definitely worse synthetic materials than others. And what you'll actually see a lot of times in some products is like a small amount of a synthetic material. Like you'll see in some underwear, elastane. So it'll be cotton with like 5% elastane. And this is actually used in the product to like help it be more stretchy and not rip and stuff. So, you know, I think stuff like that I wouldn't worry too much about, but I would still be trying to get 100% if you can, or just avoiding polyester at all costs, considering how abundant it is. Safe synthetics, it's like it's synthetic. The whole point is it's not natural. We're trying to go more natural, not less. So short answer is yes, longer answer is no. Steve asked, how do the materials affect the human body? So an important note here, polyester and these synthetic materials, regardless of heat, they are still leaching into your body. But when you heat them up, like if you're sweating and your body is getting warm and your pores are opening as well as the material is getting hot, more microplastic and more of these chemicals are going to leach into your body. This is just kind of a chemistry thing. So it's bad regardless, but it's even worse when you're sweating or using them in like a sauna or during like a jujitsu or the gym. And a lot of these products are common gym products, you know, like the super tight polyester leggings that women wear and the shirts. So yeah, I would especially avoid them in heated environments where your body is being heated or the material is being heated. I would avoid them regardless at all costs, but especially during those periods, because that's where you're gonna get the most transference of chemicals and microplastics. Now, a common question I get a lot is actually, what about swimsuits? Or if you do jujitsu like I do, no-gi, a lot of the polyester clothing is there. So what I would kind of say is what you do most matters most. So if you're swimming and you go swimming once a week or something like that, and that's when you wear polyester, it's way better than doing it 99% of the time or wearing it constantly. So, like I said, some of these things are hard to avoid. Like I roll jujitsu in polyester clothing. I actually do wear nads as a layer of protection. And I even use gi pants, which are made out of cotton. Survival of the Saint asked for a list of safe materials to use. We got organic cotton, regular cotton, wool, linen, and leather. Health is wealth, and it is worthwhile pursuing a life of more natural things, whether that's the food you put in your body, whether that's the clothes you put on your skin, whether that's the bed you sleep on. All of this stuff compiles and adds up. And I think it's one of the most beautiful things that you can do is a constant pursuit of seeking health and living in accordance with nature. Thanks for watching.